The West Burbridge Country Club had been the center of my family's social life for as long as I could remember. It boasted an 18-hole championship golf course, an Olympic-sized pool, tennis courts that hosted regional tournaments, and a dining hall where million-dollar deals were often sealed over aged steaks. I'd practically grown up there, attending debutante balls, anniversaries, and graduation parties, always as the overlooked younger daughter who didn't quite fit the family's mold. My sister Vanessa, 35, was everything my parents valued. Ivy League graduate, married to a corporate lawyer, and coordinator for several prestigious charities. She wore designer labels like Armour and ordered wine with effortless confidence. I, on the other hand, was the disappointment, dropping out of college after 2 years, working jobs as a barista, retail manager, and assistant, and showing up to events wearing clothes from Target instead of Neiman Marcus. Today, I made the mistake of coming to Sunday brunch at the club in jeans, a casual blazer, and flats. My parents were already seated at their usual terrace table when I arrived. Dad saw me first. His expression soured immediately. "Absolutely not," he said loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. "You are not sitting with us dressed like that." I stopped a few feet away. Mom set down her mimosa, her expression cold. "Emma, what are you wearing?" "Clothes," I replied. "You invited me to brunch." "I invited you assuming you'd dress appropriately," she said sharply. "This is the West Bridge, not a shopping mall." Vanessa emerged from the ladies' room, immaculate in a cream dress that likely cost more than my rent. She froze when she saw me. "Oh my God, Emma, are you serious right now?" "About what?" I asked. "About showing up here looking like that." She gestured at me. "This is a members-only club. There's a dress code." "I'm aware," I said evenly. Dad stood up, his face tight with anger. Richard Hartley still carried the commanding presence of a man who'd built a commercial real estate empire. "This is humiliating," he said. "My daughter shows up here in jeans and discount clothing. Do you have any idea what this says about us?" "I'm wearing a blazer," I pointed out. "A blazer from where? Walmart?" "Actually, yes." Mom made a pained sound. "Emma Catherine Hartley, you will leave this club immediately and come back when you're properly dressed. Or better yet, don't come back at all." I noticed other members watching, including the Vandermeers, old acquaintances of my parents. Mrs. Vandermeer whispered something to her husband, clearly entertained by the scene. "I was invited," I said quietly. "You called me Thursday and asked me to come. I assumed you had the sense to dress appropriately." Mom snapped. Clearly, I was mistaken, again. Vanessa stepped closer, lowering her voice only slightly. "Emma, you're making a scene. Everyone's looking. Just go home, change, and maybe we can fix this." "I drove an hour to get here," I said. "Then you should have thought about that before leaving the house, looking like a homeless person." The insult hung in the air. Dad gestured sharply toward the entrance. "Leave, before you embarrass us further." "I haven't done anything." "Your presence is the embarrassment," Mom said coldly. "You walk in here dressed like you're cleaning houses instead of having brunch. What will people think?" "That I'm your daughter?" I said quietly. "Not if I can help it." Her eyes were like glass. "We have a reputation here. Your father is on the board. Vanessa's being considered for the social events committee, and you show up like this, it's disrespectful." Their disapproval wasn't new. I'd been the family disappointment since leaving Duke a decade ago, walking away from a degree I hated. They'd never asked why or how I was doing, just labeled me a failure and moved on. "I'll speak to the manager," Dad said, pulling out his phone. "Have you escorted out if necessary." "Dad, that's not—" "Do not argue with me," he cut in, his voice carrying across the terrace. "You've embarrassed us enough." He strode toward the main building, while Mom and Vanessa turned their backs as if I no longer existed. I could have left, probably should have. Instead, I followed him inside. The clubhouse interior gleamed with marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and portraits of the founding members from 1923. Dad was already at the concierge desk, his tone sharp. "There's a situation on the terrace," he said to the young woman behind the counter. "My daughter arrived dressed inappropriately. I need her removed from the premises." The concierge looked uneasy. "Sir, if she's your guest, she's not my guest anymore. I'm revoking that invitation. She needs to leave immediately." "I'll get the manager, Mr. Hartley," she said before disappearing into a door marked private. Dad stood there radiating impatience, checking his watch. Moments later, the concierge returned with Patricia Odom, the club's general manager, a composed, professional woman in her 40s. "Mr. Hartley," Patricia greeted politely. "How can I assist?" Dad pointed at me. "That is my daughter. She came here in jeans and cheap clothes. Completely unacceptable. I want her removed." Patricia looked from him to me. "I see. You're requesting that we escort your daughter off the premises. She's violating the dress code and embarrassing my family. I'm on the board, Patricia. You know how important appearances are here." Patricia's expression remained professional. "And to confirm, this is your formal request to have her removed?" "Yes. Get the owner if you need authorization. I want this handled immediately." Mom and Vanessa had followed us inside, likely wanting to witness my embarrassment firsthand. Mom crossed her arms. "This is exactly why we stopped inviting you to family events, Emma. You have no sense of decorum." "Honestly," Vanessa added, "it's like you're trying to embarrass us." Patricia raised a hand. "One moment, please." She pulled out her radio. "Security to the main lobby, please, and can someone locate Miss Hartley for me?" Dad nodded, clearly pleased. "Thank you. It's unfortunate, but standards must be maintained." "Absolutely," Patricia replied evenly. "Standards are very important." 2 security officers arrived, both in professional suits instead of uniforms. The club preferred discretion. "Wait here, please," Patricia said, then disappeared through a nearby door. Silence followed. Dad checked his phone. Mom studied her manicure. Vanessa scrolled through Instagram, likely preparing to share her sister's latest incident. My pulse quickened as I stood waiting. After 3 minutes, Patricia returned with company. Beside her was a poised woman in her 60s, wearing an elegant pantsuit. Catherine Brennan, the club's director of operations. Behind them stood someone else, my assistant, Jordan, carrying a leather portfolio. "Mr. Hartley," Catherine began formally, "I understand you've requested the owner's intervention regarding a dress code violation." "Yes," Dad replied, looking pleased that his complaint was being taken seriously. "My daughter is dressed inappropriately, and I want her removed. If the owner needs to approve it, fine, but it should happen now." Catherine nodded calmly. "The owner is here, actually. Miss Hartley, would you like to address this personally?" She was looking at me. Dad followed her gaze, confused. "What?" Patricia stepped forward, her tone clear and professional. "Mr. Hartley, allow me to properly introduce Emma Hartley. She's the owner of the West Bridge Country Club. She purchased the property 8 months ago through Hartley Hospitality Group." The silence that followed was absolute. Dad's face went blank. "What?" "Your daughter," Catherine continued, "owns this club, the property, the facilities, the membership contracts, everything." Mom took a step back as if physically struck. Vanessa's phone slipped from her hand and clattered onto the marble floor. "That's impossible," Dad murmured. Jordan stepped forward, opening the portfolio. The purchase was finalized on February 15th through a corporate acquisition. The previous owners were facing losses due to poor management and outdated facilities. Miss Hartley acquired the property for $14.7 million and has since invested another $8.2 million in renovations and improvements. He handed the papers to Dad, who stared at them like they were in another language. "The new tennis courts?" Jordan continued. "Miss Hartley's investment, the renovated dining room, the expanded spa, her capital, her plan." Dad's hands trembled slightly as he flipped through the documents. "Emma, this can't be real." "It's real," I said quietly. "I've owned the West Bridge for 8 months. I just haven't made it public." "But how?" Mom's voice was faint. You working retail. You manage some store. I worked retail 7 years ago, I corrected gently. Then I moved into hospitality management. Started consulting for struggling properties. Helped restructure operations and built a reputation. Eventually, I began acquiring properties myself. Small hotels, restaurants, event spaces. Patricia added, Miss Hartley's company now owns 14 properties across 3 states. The West Bridge is her largest acquisition to date. 14 properties? Vanessa stammered. 15. Jordan interjected. We closed on a boutique hotel in Asheville yesterday. Miss Hartley flew back this morning just to attend this brunch. Dad stared at the signatures on the documents. My name printed on every page. Why didn't you tell us? I met his eyes. My father, who just tried to have me removed from my own property? When exactly should I have told you? At Christmas, when you spent dinner praising Vanessa's volunteer work as real contribution? Or at Easter, when you told everyone I was still figuring things out? That's not fair, Mom said weakly. Isn't it? I asked quietly. You spent 10 years treating me like a failure because I didn't fit your expectations. I dropped out of Duke, so I was a disappointment. I worked retail, so I was beneath you. I didn't marry into your world, so I was an embarrassment. We were concerned about you, Vanessa tried. No, I said evenly. You were ashamed of me. There's a difference. Catherine cleared her throat. Miss Hartley, you mentioned wanting to review membership contracts today. Yes, I said, grateful for the shift. Please pull up the Hartley family membership. She opened a tablet. Richard and Margaret Hartley, primary members since 1998. Vanessa Hartley Preston, associate member since 2015. What are the annual dues? I asked. $45,000 for primary, $12,000 for associate. And the contract terms? Annual renewal, with 90 days notice for cancellation. Ownership reserves the right to terminate membership immediately for cause. Dad finally spoke. Emma, what are you doing? I looked at him, then at Mom and Vanessa, the same people who had just tried to have me removed for my outfit. Patricia, I said calmly, can you explain what qualifies as cause for termination? She scrolled through the clause. Section 7.3, membership may be terminated for conduct unbecoming, harassment of staff or members, property damage, or any behavior deemed harmful to the club's reputation and values. And who decides what qualifies? I asked, already knowing the answer. Club ownership has sole discretion, Patricia said. I let the silence settle before responding. Dad's face had drained of color. Emma, he said quietly, you're not suggesting. You demanded I be removed from the property, I interrupted. You called me an embarrassment. You said my presence reflected poorly on the family's reputation. You called security to have me removed. Tell me, would it have mattered if I didn't own the club? Would you have treated any other guest this way? Does the dress code only apply to people you consider beneath you? Mom stepped forward, her hands clasped tightly. Emma, please, you're upset, and you have every right to be. We made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But don't do anything impulsive. Impulsive? I repeated, like trying to have your daughter thrown out of a country club? Vanessa was crying now, her mascara starting to run. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. Please. I stood there, feeling the weight of 10 years of quiet dismissal, ridicule, and casual cruelty. Every time they'd introduced me as our other daughter with that apologetic tone. Every family photo where I'd been placed at the edge. Every holiday dinner where my achievements were brushed aside while Vanessa's volunteer work earned endless praise. Catherine, I said steadily, what happens if someone tries to have the owner removed from the property? She didn't hesitate. Immediate termination of membership, permanent ban from the premises, loss of all privileges, and if they're a board member, removal from the board, since board positions require active membership. Dad exhaled sharply, like all the air had left his lungs. Emma, please, I've been on that board for 12 years. I'm up for board president next quarter. You can't? I interrupted. Interesting word from someone who just tried to have me escorted off my own property. By now, a small crowd had gathered. Members and staff stood at a distance, some recording on their phones. This would be all over the club before noon. Jordan leaned toward me. And maybe we should handle this privately. He was right, it had gone further than I intended. But years of frustration weren't easy to suppress. Here's what's going to happen, I said evenly. Dad, your board position is suspended pending review. Mom, Vanessa, your memberships are suspended for 30 days. Emma, please, Mom began, her voice trembling. During those 30 days, I continued, you can think about how you treat people, how you judge them, and what really matters. And if we don't, Dad asked bitterly, then the suspensions become permanent, I said calmly. And you can explain to your friends why you're no longer welcome at the club you've belonged to for 26 years. Vanessa broke down completely. Mom looked faint. Dad just stood there, his composure collapsing. I turned to Catherine. Please escort them out. They're currently suspended members and no longer authorized to be on the property. Emma, you can't do this, Dad said, his voice breaking. This club is our life, our friends, our community, everything. And maybe, I said softly, you should have treated your daughter like she mattered more than a dress code. Security approached politely. Mr. Hartley, Mrs. Hartley, Miss Preston, please come with us. They were led out through the same entrance I had walked in just half an hour earlier, expecting nothing more than a family brunch. The lobby fell silent except for the sound of the nearby fountain. Patricia approached carefully. Miss Hartley, that was bold. I didn't say that. She added quickly, almost smiling, though you've definitely given the members something to discuss for the next year. I nodded, suddenly drained. Please have my assistant send me the membership review files. I want to see how dress code complaints are being handled. Make sure we're being consistent and fair. Of course, she said. And Patricia, thank you for supporting me. That couldn't have been easy. You're the owner, she said simply. And for what it's worth, you've been the best thing to happen to this club in years. The changes you've made, the investments, the improvements, everyone notices, even if they don't know who's behind them. I didn't stay for brunch. Instead, I went to my car and sat there for 20 minutes, hands shaking as the adrenaline faded. My phone started buzzing almost immediately. First, a text from Vanessa. Emma, please, we can talk about this. Don't do this to us. Then one from Mom. Your father is devastated. Is this really how you want to treat your family? Finally, an email from Dad. I'm calling the family lawyer. You can't abuse your position like this. There are bylaws. I turned off my phone. Moments later, Jordan tapped on the window. I rolled it down. You okay? He asked. Not sure yet. That was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever seen in my career, he admitted. And I once watched a CEO fire his entire board at a holiday party. I laughed despite myself. Was I wrong? Wrong? Brutal? Yes. Deserved? Probably. But Emma, you need to plan the next steps. They'll fight this. Your dad's right. There are bylaws and procedures for disputes. I know. And if this goes public, and it will, you'll face backlash. Vindictive owner bans family over dress code isn't a great headline. He was right. The emotional satisfaction was already fading, replaced by the reality of what I'd done. Set a meeting with our legal team tomorrow morning, I said. I want to be sure everything was handled by the book. Already scheduled for 9 a.m., Jordan replied. And pulled data on dress code enforcement for the past 5 years. I want to see how consistently it's been applied, especially for board members and their families. You think there's a pattern? I think my father's spent years deciding who belongs here and who doesn't, I said. I want to know if those decisions were fair. Jordan nodded. I'll have a report ready by tomorrow afternoon. I drove home, not to the small apartment my family assumed I lived in, but to the renovated Victorian I'd bought 3 years earlier in a historic neighborhood. 4 bedrooms, original hardwood floors, and a garden I rarely had time to tend. Inside, I poured a glass of wine and sat quietly in the living room, looking at the family photos I'd kept despite everything. Christmas photos, vacation pictures, and birthday snapshots still lined my shelves, reminders of a family that had once looked happy, at least on the surface. My phone remained off, but I could easily imagine the flood of messages, the outrage, panic, and blame. I'd publicly embarrassed them in front of their peers, their friends, and the entire social circle that defined their world. Was I wrong? That question followed me through the afternoon, over dinner, and into a sleepless night. By Monday morning, I had 17 voicemails. I listened in order while sipping coffee. Mom, Sunday, 2 p.m. Emma, your father had to be taken to the hospital. His blood pressure spiked. The doctor says he's stable, but this stress, this is what you've done. Vanessa, Sunday, 5 p.m. Do you even realize what you've caused? I've been asked to resign from the charity board. They don't want the controversy. My husband's furious. You've destroyed everything. Dad, Sunday, 8 p.m. I spoke with Harold Wellington. He says your actions violated multiple bylaws and member protections. We're filing a formal complaint. This isn't over. More messages followed. Friends asking for details, distant relatives pretending to care about family unity. Even Aunt Rachel, who meant well, urging me to reconsider. At 9 a.m., I met with my legal team, 3 lawyers specializing in hospitality, property, and governance law. Be honest, I said after summarizing everything. Did I overstep? Sarah Chin, my lead counsel, reviewed the paperwork. Legally, as owner, you have broad authority over membership decisions. Your father's actions could be classified as conduct detrimental to the club's reputation. She paused. I could sense a but coming. However, suspending a board member without following the review process can be challenged. The bylaws require a formal hearing before disciplinary action. So, I acted too fast? You acted within your rights, she said. But you bypassed protocol. If they hire lawyers, this could drag on for months. I rubbed my temples. What are my options? Marcus, our governance expert, outlined them. Option 1. Hold your ground. You'll probably win legally, but damage relationships and risk negative press. Option 2. Reinstate memberships with clear conditions. Require an apology, set behavioral guidelines, and assert authority through fairness. Option 3, he added. Sell the club and walk away. You've increased its value significantly. That last suggestion lingered. I'm not selling, I said finally. I bought Westbridge because it had potential and because I wanted to prove I could succeed in their world, but on my own terms. Sarah nodded. Then option 2, do it not out of guilt, but out of choice. Offer grace they never showed you. That afternoon, I called Dad. He answered immediately. I've reviewed everything with my lawyers, I began. I'm prepared to reinstate your memberships under specific conditions. A pause. What conditions? First, a written apology from each of you. Not for me, but for the record. Acknowledging that judging someone's worth by appearance was wrong. Second, you'll join a board review to update the club's dress code, ensuring consistent enforcement. Third, and this one's non-negotiable, you'll respect my ownership. No more undermining or interference. Support the direction I'm taking, or step down. He was quiet, then said softly, You've really built something, haven't you? Yes. I didn't know. I should have asked instead of assuming you'd failed. You should have, I said evenly. He sighed. We were proud of Vanessa because her success was visible, easy to show off. Yours was harder to see. We didn't understand. Didn't realize I was successful, or didn't think success could look different from yours. Both, he admitted, and I'm sorry. What we did was wrong. No matter who you are or what you own. I'll reinstate your memberships immediately, I said. Send your apologies to Catherine Brennan by week's end. The board review starts next month. Thank you, he said quietly. This doesn't fix everything, but I want to try. You deserved better. You made me feel like I wasn't enough, I said. But understand this, I didn't build any of this for your approval. I did it because I'm good at it and because it matters to me. I see that now, he said. And I accept you, genes and all. We talked for another half hour, not resolving everything, but starting something new. The next Sunday, I returned to Westbridge for brunch, wearing the exact same outfit: jeans, blazer, flats. My family was already seated. When they saw me, they stood. Emma, Mom said gently, would you like to join us? I would. They'd saved the best seat, facing the terrace and golf course. Conversation stayed light until Vanessa spoke. I read about your hotel in Asheville, she said. The reviews are incredible. Thank you. And the property in Savannah, it's stunning, she added. You've been researching my company, I said. I wanted to understand what you've built, she admitted. It's impressive, really. Dad nodded. I've told colleagues about your business model, how you revive struggling properties. It's brilliant. Mom reached across the table, touching my hand. I read your apology, she said softly. I meant every word. I know this doesn't fix everything, Dad said, but we want to know the real you, not the version we imagined. I looked at them, flawed, complicated, but trying. Then let's try, I said simply. It wasn't a perfect ending. No tears, no grand reconciliation, just honesty. And as other members passed by, glancing at me, the woman in jeans and a blazer, laughing with her family at the best table in the club, no one said a thing. Because now they all knew. The woman in comfortable clothes owned the entire place. And for the first time, so did my family.